And welcome to game 2 between SorenJohnson and ajasquared. Looks like, just start with this one off, we're going to have a little bit of water and carbon available right in the middle. Soren spots that immediately and jumps on it. Certainly a fantastic amount of carbon available for our scavenger player with water very close by. That is a very tempting found location that I likely would have taken myself had I spotted it in this particular situation, this game. However, interestingly enough, we have an excellent location for a robotic colony down here. Aja going to take it as expansive. That should be no real surprise in particular. The reason I say robotic, by the way, is because you've got iron available. You could potentially take iron mine that also gets aluminum, iron mine, dump 3 steel mills down, and you have ridiculous amounts of adjacency bonuses available for your steel. This is exactly the kind of positioning on my resources I look for if I'm going to found robotic. Aja, on the other hand, he has gone expansive, he has iron secured, he has aluminum secured, both in reasonable quantities, and he's just going to throw down a steel mill immediately. But Soren, already pushing the HQ level 2, should be no surprise whatsoever. When you're sitting on 6 carbon a second as scavenger, you can certainly make some very, very aggressive early plays. He's going to secure an aluminum iron mine himself. He will also, it looks like, be securing an additional aluminum mine. That's going to be a nice solid 2 iron and 3 aluminum a second for Soren, as well as a high water tile with excellent adjacency bonuses available in the future. Just a lot of very interesting tiles on this map that both players are going to have to figure out how to use very quickly. Fortunately for both players, neither of them scanning to the northwest of this game, as it looks like we've just got mostly dead space, with one lone high carbon tile available. Pirate auction coming out. This is actually pretty valuable this early in the game. Certainly willing to pay more in debt for this than it is worth, as the advantage you can get in raw funds can certainly make up for any stock price hit you take early. Aja going to push to 14,000 for this. I would honestly be a bit surprised if this doesn't come out on top of something like iron, aluminum immediately at this stage. I would not want to acquire pirates for 14,000 at this early in the game and just sit around on them the entire time. Pirates have come out. It is going to be the iron aluminum. No surprise there. Those raw resources will allow Aja to potentially push to HQ level 3 much faster and try and start abusing his expansive advantage. Aja, in fact, going to move into 3 water pumps already at this stage of the game. That's very aggressive on a resource that usually bottoms out very quickly if players are bringing in quite a large amount of it and don't have anything like reactors or farms down yet. I don't know how that's going to pay off for Aja long term, but right now it's going to be a really quick influx of funds, and then those are going to be doing nothing for quite some time, I expect. Silicon coming in for Soren, just a little bit here and there. He's doing his very, very usual play of just on HQ level 2 as a scavenger. He makes sure to secure the variety of base resources he's going to need, and then at HQ level 3, I expect to see reactors coming out of Soren momentarily, if I'm honest. I will be surprised if that doesn't happen. Oh, it's actually going to be glass furnaces at this stage. Was glass making more money? Right now, I guess glass is making a hair more money, but the thing about moving into glass instead of reactors, it's making more money in the moment. However, glass will usually bottom out much faster than fuel and oxygen will, and so you have to be a little bit concerned about that, especially because food hasn't really pushed to the point where either player is going to be moving into it. We can see these glass furnaces making about 40 apiece once they've got all their adjacency bonuses, it looks like. Not a bad thing, but fuel, I expect, is going to be far more valuable. With all this water coming in, the price getting pushed down to $1, I don't think this was fully thought out for Soren, and he's going to have to push through upgrades rapidly with this glass in order to take any kind of advantage off of it. Yep, $70 for the reactor, $30 for the glass furnace is exactly what I'm talking about. When he put it down, the glass furnace was certainly more valuable, but considering the fact that Aja had this much water flowing in, and he was absolutely going to have to sell it as he has nothing else to really obtain for use to attain funds until he had hit HQ level 3 and established these reactors, I feel like this was just a bit of a misstep for Soren. Alright. Going to have an auction coming in momentarily. We have even more reactors coming down for Aja, choosing not to go for the adjacency bonuses and likely planning on moving these into something like farms later in the game. Soren does go ahead and hit HQ level 4 right before the auction comes out, and it's going to be a high aluminum tile. This is actually worth maybe a bit more than one would expect at this stage of the game at the end of day 2. Aluminum still holding its price at $32. I would expect to see this pushed a lot higher than it was because, frankly, $3,000 for a claim, this thing does not have to be active for all that long in order to simply pay itself back and then turn itself into straight up profit There's even potential to throw down something as simple as a solar panel on that tile and easily cover the 3,000 in debt one attained in acquiring it.
Black market is
All right.
online.
Looks like something was grabbed up. Nope. Aja's... I'm not sure which player took this black market claim yet. I believe we can check on that momentarily. I really hate that about the new claim. It's very difficult to keep track of. Looks like Aja is the one who has gone for the new claim. Soren choosing not to use the black market at all yet this game as a scavenger player. Interesting to note that there is a chem surplus coming in. This makes things like the patent lab and the engineering lab far more viable because it doesn't require a ridiculous investment in funds in order to get them operational. I would almost hope to see an engineering lab from one of these players in response to a surplus on chems. Also should be noted that Soren is now managing to burn $60 a second in his glass furnaces. Well, I guess they're appropriately named for that at least. Whereas Aja's reactors are going perfectly strong. And Soren, I'm just very concerned once again about this glass move. He did not have the silicon to support it. His silicon production will make him a significant amount of money now, but the sheer fact that these things are still operational and even had a goon squad committed to them to ensure that Aja was unable to protect him from himself worries me quite a bit. All right, Soren's moving out of the glass. I expect farms to be moving down momentarily for him. Already got 2 down, going to be moving into a 3rd, but already this game, he is behind Aja. Aja has successfully established a large amount of effective production. 3 reactors and 3 farms down already. Soren's only real edge this game is his 2 silicon quarries, and unfortunately he burnt a lot of money in the process of raising the value of that silicon. He's also the one who has been moving into things like solar panels and paying that very, very high price. And so I'm very concerned about that fact for Soren. Would you see a couple of solar panels down for Aja in place of his water? Certainly a good use of those tiles, which are not particularly valuable. I wouldn't even object to seeing a 3rd one available for Aja instead of this high water pump, which is honestly likely losing money. Yeah, negative $15 a second, and I don't believe that even counts the fuel cost of shipping the resource back. Soren has gotten a bit aggressive with the stock purchase. I'm not so sure about that. I feel like $8,000 in Soren's pocket might be a bit more valuable at the moment. However, he does have $13,000 left over. He does have the ability to go ahead and move into an upgrade, so despite those glass furnaces perhaps causing him more trouble than they were worth, he has managed to scrounge together a fair amount of cash that he can use this game, going after even more stock for the moment. High water tile, I'm actually a bit surprised this is being bid on more than the high aluminum tile, which has proven that it would have been more valuable than its $3,000 price tag. $10,000, far more reasonable price to give up kind of an awkward claim for. I wouldn't be too surprised to even see another solar panel flying on up there. There it is.
Thanks to the infrastructure.
Aja has gone ahead and pushed HQ level 5. He is establishing additional farms, trying to make a decent amount of money on food. He's also purchased quite heavily into this iron shortage that should work his way. However, Soren knew about the iron shortage first. It's almost going to be a game of chicken. Who pulls the trigger first? Because that guy is going to get the profit, and the other one's going to be left out in the cold. All right, I'm honestly not sure who came out on top of there. It looked like about simultaneous sells. But it seems like Soren might have been the one to get the cash first, with Aja dumping out just a bit too late with the control shift down in response. We also see a power surge down onto Aja's main source of income, his farms right now, and nothing being done about Soren's ridiculous amount of silicon coming in. This is the kind of situation where you want to see underground nukes coming out. Soren has also, during all of this, managed to push to HQ level 5. He has another farm coming down. Still a solid resource available for him for sure. And interestingly enough, a wind turbine, a lone wind turbine with its 0.9 power a second, going to be doing a good job of paying off Soren's debt. And it's time for him to move back into the glass furnaces, apparently, only burning $20 a second in this one instead of 60. So that's a definite improvement at this stage of the game. And of course, these middle two are actually managing to make just a little bit of money. Water pump has returned for Aja. That's a bit questionable given that power is quite good and the water pump is also successfully losing money at this stage of the game. It looks like Aja has actually committed a very large number of tiles to simply paying off debt. I doubt he's going to manage to actually make money off of power this game, given that his debt has gone quite high and Soren is doing what he can to shut down adjacency bonuses and prevent his debt from ever getting fully paid off, but it certainly will raise his stock price and make it just a bit more difficult for Soren to push to the aggressive buyouts he seems to enjoy. All right, glass furnaces all together, now losing a good $60 a second. I really always have to question when I see glass furnaces come down.
The black market is
Now, it should be
online.
said that there is not a whole lot available on this map that will make money. This is almost certainly why I would have loved to see something like engineering labs or patent labs come down for these players. Just find that little edge when the markets start to get low without having to fully commit into an off-world market. We do see the negative glass furnaces going away. We're moving into some electrolysis reactors, but unfortunately for Soren, he is going to see that there is a fuel surplus coming up, and I'm curious if he's going to keep committing to these, knowing that fuel's price is going to drop in just a moment. The lone carbon tile, finally getting some attention this game. Well, he's been abandoned for most of it, so I guess that's good to see. Good little auction coming up. Apparently, it's only worth about $10,000 to Soren. That's not unreasonable. The tile's off in the middle of nowhere. You can't even really put power on it at this point, with silicon being so expensive and power being so cheap. So that's, well, apparently that's exactly what we're going to do, though. Nice little solar panel flying out to take on the carbon tile. I almost would have liked to see that go ahead and be carbon, as that would have allowed for a bit easier push into an off-world for Soren, which is looking more and more and more important this game as it goes on, especially because the off-world price for fuel is $623. That is something you absolutely cannot ignore in this game. Electronic shortage coming through. Soren's going to be getting all the benefit off of that. Certainly making good use of the shortage effect as a scavenger this game. I almost have a feeling that once again, all we're going to need to see out of these players is off-worlds and who defends them better this game to determine an actual victor. I find it highly unlikely Soren will manage to actually push through all the way on on-world resources unless we see him move into something like electronics immediately, as Aja has managed to go ahead and secure at least 4 of his own stock this game. And I'm actually really... Okay, here we go. Electronics factory is going to come on down. I really want to see that off-world transition from Aja right now. Off-world would only cost him about $36,000. That is easily attainable. Grab a $6,000 goon squad for that on top. You're talking about a $45,000 maybe commitment for something that is going to pull in $662,000. $623 per fuel cent on its very first launch. Not a very difficult decision to make, one would think. Chem's coming in for Aja. Certainly a reasonable decision after a fuel surplus. However, they are not going to last long, and we're going to have to see a transition out of them fairly soon. Whereas Soren has moved into electronics factories, 3 of which get power surged almost immediately. The power surge bouncing very nicely for Aja. Unfortunate turn of luck for Soren. But even these electronics factories not making a large amount of money at the moment, as Soren has let carbon's price rise fairly high. One has to imagine that he is also going to be eyeing that off-world potential, but he might also just want to go ahead and try and push for that victory. He only needs $161,000 to finish it up, but I really don't think that these on-world prices are going to hold well enough in order for him to get there. All right. Another chem lab coming down for Aja. We've got an engineering lab working. It's going to research chem production. I'm a bit concerned about that. In particular, I feel like if I would have gone into any kind of production in this game, it would have been fuel for the hope of an off-world transition later. But both of these players seem to want to ignore the off-world for the duration of this game and see if they can win in just on-world alone. Ooh, claim auction almost got over to Aja for $6,000 there. This is certainly worth quite a chunk of cash, especially considering, well, the late stage of the game where you can't acquire any additional tiles without a hefty black market purchase or an auction coming down. But Soren's going to go ahead and grab it up for $7,000. More nice cheap auctions going his way, and he's actually just going to use that to add to his electronics factories for the moment. Still, it looks like trying to push for that quick victory, or that quick victory, not wanting to make the long-term investment of advanced buildings. All right. Well, the engineering lab, it improved the chemicals for Aja once. Oh, chemicals immediately shut down, though. Not going to get any benefit off of those anytime soon. And this is how you make money on glass furnaces. You'll wait for glass to get up to $120. You'll wait for everybody to have hopped in and out of farms 6 or 7 times. You wait for silicon's price to rise fairly high. You buy up a bunch of silicon while it was already cheap, so your opponent can't pull any crazy shenanigans on you with that. And suddenly you've turned all that super, super cheap silicon into a fairly large amount of glass. That should turn out to be quite profitable. All right, Soren, let's see it. That off-world market. Pop it down. Just be like, bam, go. You can do it. Oh, there it is. Oh, that was a weird place to put it. I wasn't ready for that, guys. I really thought it was going to go down right here under the Goon Squad. That was basically my thought process. Kind of a weird decision to put the Offworld in my opinion, but to each their own, I suppose. It is separated just in case any attempted power surges or EMPs come down, and Aja has finally decided to get aggressive this game. He has completely tanked the price on fuel, aluminum, and iron in order to try and push into Soren's stock, forcing Soren to go ahead and respond. But once again, Soren has that Offworld trading company started. He's got the Goon Squad established for it. He's got other Goon Squads available for the rest of his production, which is actually still making money at this stage. So that's a nice change of pace for Soren with the glass this game. And Aja still not willing to make that off-world transition in the 1v1 scenario. Instead, his engineering lab has been blown up. He is trying to rely on these chem labs and these glass furnaces to make enough money to push into Soren's stock before Soren can actually turn a profit off of his off-world. But unfortunately, with the off-world market having been so cheap for so long this game, I don't know if that's going to be a possibility. We just need to see this send on fuel started for Soren, and suddenly the cash is going to start flying in. And Aja, at this point, even if he started an off-world market this moment, he would be a full send behind Soren. All right, fuel is launching. I'll be honest, guys. I think that pretty much wraps up the game. I don't know what Aja can do from here to catch up. He allowed steel to get a bit out of control. He did not take advantage of the particularly cheap steel price when it was available to him. So he's being forced to move back into steel for the moment, has no other way to make solid amounts of money. Might want to move into food before too long. As we can see, these solar panels are not doing a lot. This commitment to water, once again, this has kept water from ever getting out of control this game. It might have been a bit of an over-commitment, especially that early in the game. I doubt that short little bump of cash that he got from committing to quite so much water is going to hold any degree of value as we push into later stages of this game. Soren grabs pirates up for 14,000. I don't really know what the plan is for these. Aja really doesn't have any amount of solid base resources coming in. Separated from his base, it looks like they're just going to get thrown down on this lone silicon tile. $27 a piece. I don't know if that was worth the 14,000 in debt for Soren, considering Aja is pushing into his stock as hard as he can. Aja goes ahead and moves into some electronics production. He's got that high-level production in chem labs and electronics going quite nicely. Those will be making a decent amount of money. The electrolysis reactors still aren't managing to lose money. The steel is actually making money quite nicely for him, but he doesn't have a real good supply of anything except for water. And once again, Soren, he's launching with Offworlds. He got attacked with dynamite. He went ahead and re-gooned it. This launch is going to happen, period. And he only really needs 3 of these to go off to finish off the game at this stage. So I'm really very concerned for Aja.
Look at all the money.
Engineering lab getting rebuilt once again. Every single dynamite that Aja throws at that Offworld to try and shut it down will be turned into dynamite on his engineering lab to guarantee that Aja can never find his edge this game. In fact, we see that his chem labs have now started to lose money as he has not been able to actually consume chemicals at any reasonable rate this game. And chem labs, of course, will become unprofitable very quickly as Soren is sending fuel off-world and raising that price very effectively. Soren has managed to secure the rest of his stock. Aja has 4 in each, Soren 6 in each. So once again, a solid stock advantage going over to Soren this game. With the stock advantage, with the off-world, I'm still very concerned for Aja. I cannot see his edge anywhere. Soren, having chosen to secure the rest of his stock, will actually take perhaps 2 more off-world sends to reach his goal of 191,000 before he manages to take out Aja, but I don't see how Aja takes it from here. We would have needed to see that off-world come down much, much sooner. The steel mills probably shouldn't have been abandoned for quite so long. We're seeing silicon come in, which is a nice little play, having that silicon available to him right next to his base, but I'm just not seeing anything to match the sheer power of this one tile that Soren is committed to. And we can see that Soren has the 72% right now. Aja's just staring at that number go up, and I don't know what he does about it. I mean, I'm really curious to see. It looks like he's completely abandoned the engineering lab despite the low price of chemicals. His electronics have been frozen out and would, in fact, likely be losing him. Well, he did buy up a bunch of electronics. That price just shot up for no particular reason, it looks like. But once again, we've got this 84%. I have a feeling this send is what's going to do it for Soren. We've got, what, 10 seconds left on this, guys? And I think the game's going to be over. Let's see. Yep, there's the red button. Soren, just gotta press it. You gotta press it. There we go. Alright, guys. That's going to be a solid 2-0 victory on it over to Soren this game. Showing that while off-world markets can be difficult to reach in a 1v1 because you're walking a very fine line, considering you're only up against one opponent, and if he manages to get that very slight edge on you, the game can be over completely. They are certainly not unviable. Once again, let's take a look at resources. Aja only managing to make about 200,000 on world that game. He started off very strong. In the mid-game, there's no question that he had the production advantage considering his buildings were actually managing to make him money. But at the late game, I feel like it all is falling apart in that late game transition, which Soren is just more successful at. He pushed into the electronics sooner. He had the silicon established from earlier. He pushed into the food better, especially because he was defending his tiles and guaranteeing that he had access to at least some of his production at all time, despite whatever black market Aja was throwing his way. But once again, we can see the biggest difference between these players is the fact that Soren got 3 off-world launches off, totaling a value of $186,000, and that will clean up the end game very, very easily for him. No such commitment from Aja. And that's just a large potential chunk of cash that did not go his way. Okay. Still, though, well fought by Aja. He certainly played it out a lot better than most players would have. And it was 2 very, very close games. So while the score won't reflect it, it certainly was not over a walkover victory. It was not a walkover victory for Soren. Okay, guys. Well,